Welcome back to my channel. My name is LaShawn and this is Lush Uncut. So there has been a lot going on in the news lately and a lot that I want to cover. So for today's video, I'm actually going to revert to an old format of mine where I tried to cover multiple news stories in one video. So bear with me as I go through this. Today's video is going to be a little longer than normal. Hopefully it is informative and hopefully it is completely worth your time and attention. So we're just going to jump straight into it. Obviously, the biggest story from the news this week is that horrific plane crash that occurred over the skies of Washington, D.C. late Wednesday evening. I'm going to be reading from the BBC here. It reads, 67 people are believed to have died after a passenger plane hit a helicopter in midair near Washington, D.C.'s Ronald Reagan Airport on Wednesday evening. It is not clear what caused the crash, which is being investigated. Authorities have recovered the flight data recorded from the American Airlines jet and continue to find bodies in the icy Potomac River in which the plane fell. Details are emerging about the 64 people who were on board the plane, who included top figure skaters as well as 4 crew members. Meanwhile, the helicopter was carrying 3 soldiers. So, as it says there, it is still very early on in the investigation, and I think as time moves on and we get more details, we'll get a clearer and better picture as to exactly what happened and how this could have possibly happened in 2025, where I think most of us assume that there are layers and layers and layers of safety measures that are meant to avoid an incident just as this one. That being said, what I really want to get into regarding this story is Donald Trump's comment regarding what could possibly be blamed for the plane crash and the controversy surrounding what he said. So here's a video of our beloved President Donald Trump talking about what he believes to be the underlying cause of that plane crash.
Today blamed the diversity elements, but then told us that you weren't sure that the controllers made any mistake. We then said perhaps the helicopter pilots were the ones who made the mistake.
It's all under investigation.
I understand that. That's why I'm trying to figure out how you can come to the conclusion right now that diversity had something to do with this crash.
Because I have common sense, okay? And unfortunately, a lot of people don't. We want brilliant people doing this. This is a major chess game at the highest level. When you have 60 planes coming in during a short period of time, and they're all coming in different directions, and you're dealing with very high-level computer work and very complex computers. And one of the other things I will tell you is that the systems that were built, I was going to rebuild the entire system, and then we had an election that didn't turn out the way it should have.
Okay, so there's a lot of people that are criticizing Donald Trump for bringing up the fact that DEI may have played a role in the events that led up to the incident Wednesday evening, and saying that basically he's politicizing the issue and it is way too early to exactly, again, get to the root cause of the accident. And for once, I'm going to agree with Trump's critics, because I feel like as commander-in-chief, as the president of the United States of America, when something as horrific as this happened, there should be a pause between us just digesting the horror that comes with an event like this and then talking about what could have possibly caused it. Now, I understand that it is 2025 and literally everything is politicized way too early. We've seen this happen time and time again when we have a school shooting, and 2.5 seconds later, the left is pointing at the Second Amendment and gun rights, and then the whole conversation about who should have guns and who should have access about guns happen literally before the total death count is tallied. So while I understand that this is kind of how we operate as a society, that's no excuse for it. And it's sad that when, again, things like this happen, there's no pause, there's no reverence, there's no respect for the victims and their families. And it is important to get to the bottom of this, but and the thing about it is eventually we will. It's just too early. Okay, it's literally the day after, and the entire conversation is surrounding DEI. While, again, I understand conservatives and our need to point out when we're right about something, because there is a good possibility that DEI, the lowering of the standards and, the fact that we have a lot of systems in this country that need to be updated when it comes to our transportation and so on and so forth. And it's good to have those conversations, but people just very unexpectedly lost their loved one in a way where it's just unfathomable for most of us. I fly at least 2 to 3 times a year, and I never once consider that I would not make it home safely. And I have a lot of friends and family that fly often, and it never crosses my mind. So for something to this, like this to happen, it is very jarring. And again, I feel like we just need to kind of go back to the point where we take a pause when something like this happens. So that's all I have to say about that. Now, moving on and kind of keeping on with the theme of DEI, I want to talk about Target deciding to basically take away or do away with all of their DEI initiatives and programs and so on, and the uproar that has caused from the left.
Target announcing it is rolling back diversity, equity, and inclusion programs at the company. In a memo to employees, the Minneapolis-based company says it will end its 3-year DEI goals, stop reports to external diversity-focused groups, and end a program focused on carrying more products from Black or minority-owned businesses. The decision follows President Trump's executive orders almost immediately after his inauguration to end the government's DEI programs. NBC's Brian Chung joining us now with that. Brian, this is a pretty significant change of direction for Target, right? Walk us through the company's history with DEI and suddenly a turnaround?
Yeah, Tom, as you outlined there, Target rolling back a number of their DEI policies in an announcement today. And in a memo that a chief executive officer in the high ranks of Target sending to employees today, they described the reason for making these DEI changes as, quote, the result of the evolving external landscape. And you can imagine what that external landscape entails. It is, of course, the new president wanting to roll back DEI within the federal government and a lot of these mounting challenges against other companies that we've seen in the last few months with regards to their DEI policies. But I want to point out, this is a pretty remarkable turn for a company, Target, that is based in Minneapolis. As you recall, that is the city where George Floyd was murdered in 2020. And Target at the time was one of the first companies to really go out and in a full-throated manner defend their efforts to try to boost DEI policies. At the time, CEO Brian Cornell saying, quote, that could have been one of my Target team members. And then now here you have this announcement today, Tom, that they're rolling back those policies. It really does speak to the environment that we're in today.
So a couple things here. He said that, Target is rolling back their DEI policies to kind of adjust for the change in the external landscape, and referring to Donald Trump's and his executive orders rolling back DEI on a federal level, as well as other pressures from, I think there's a guy, I completely forgot his name, that has been basically pushing a lot of these corporations in the corner and saying, hey, if you don't get rid of these policies, number one, they are illegal. You are going to have a lot to deal with that you probably don't want to deal with. I also think a lot of it is the fact that nobody really cares anymore about BLM and that whole catastrophe that kind of pushed these companies to start focusing so much on DEI. And I think what that should say to a lot of people on the left that are very DEI, very inclusivity, very like, oh, we need to make space for everybody. These companies never care. They never will care. And they don't care currently. The only reason where, why companies like Target and, all the other ones decided to, roll in on DEI and focus on it so much is because they did it literally just to make you think that these are things that they care about, which they actually don't care about. The only thing that they care about is their bottom line at the end of the day. So once that external social pressure also went away, in addition to the change in the political landscape and so on and so forth, they now have no reason to stick by DEI, because even though, again, there's a lot of people on the left that are crying, saying like, oh, this is an, injustice, these companies don't care about Black people and yada, yada, yada. It's just not as the same level as it was in 2020. So again, they really have no motivation to hold on to these policies, on top of the fact that they're kind of illegal. But anyway, so like I said, there's people on the left that were pissed off about it. One person in particular is my least favorite race baiter, Al Sharpton. So he decided to take 100+ people and go into Costco and do, I think, what they're called a boycott or something like that. So basically, little backstory, Costco has been very public about its defense of DEI and decided to kind of keep up with their DEI policies, while other companies like Target have decided to, move away from them. So Al Sharpton took this opportunity to go in front of cameras and be his very, 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 very annoying self. So as you can see there, he had the cameras, he had the people, he did the photo ops, talked to people, yada, 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 did his regular race baiting stuff. And I find it very frustrating when we see a lot of these like very popular Black figures to put the thumbs up to something like DEI, because it's such an insult to the legacy of Black America in this country and what that specific group of people have been able to overcome without programs and initiatives like DEI. Okay, the ancestors did not need DEI to be successful in this country, and it is an insult again to their hard work and their determination for the generations later on that has way more opportunities than they had, have way more rights in this country and way more privileges in this country, to then turn around and say, no, we need special rules and regulations to open doors for us because we cannot do it without the assistance of DEI and woke white liberals that literally only use programs like DEI to make themselves feel good about themselves. Moving on to our next story, RFK had the second day of his confirmation hearing yesterday. So there's a clip here that I want to play. It's an exchange between him and Bernie Sanders, where basically RFK calls Bernie Sanders out for, the fact that he's been getting a lot of money from Big Pharma. So here's that.
I'm going to make America healthier than other countries in the world right now.
Will you guarantee do what every other major country does? It's a simple question.
And by the way, Bernie, the problem of corruption is not just in the federal agencies, it's in Congress too. Almost all the members of this panel are accepting, including yourself, are accepting millions of dollars from the pharmaceutical industry.
Oh, no,
and
no,
protecting their interests.
Oh, I thought that would come. No. I ran for president like you. I got millions and millions of contributions. They did not come from the executives, not one nickel of PAC money from the pharmaceutical industry. They came from workers.
In 2020, you were the single largest
because I had
pharmaceutical money
from workers all over this country. Workers,
you were the
not a nickel from corporate
PACs. You were the single largest acceptor of pharmaceutical dollars.
No, from workers in
1.5 million.
Yeah, out of 200 million. All right.
This is not just a Democrat issue when it comes to our politicians being bought out by major corporations and these industries at the expense of America. This is an issue that we see on both sides of the aisle, where we have Republicans and Democrats and those in the middle who are, again, bought out in a lot of ways. And it's really frustrating because it's like, we know that this is happening, right? So everyone knows left, right, and center that a lot of our politicians are bought out. And when you have someone like RFK come in and say, hey, I want to attack the chronic disease problem in this country. I want to attack the fact that our childhood obesity rates are out of control. And this is something that we need to fix as a country. And this is the first time this conversation has been so loud on a federal level. This is the first time I've even seen someone say, we need to get rid of some of the chemicals in our food, okay? This is a conversation even up to maybe 2 or 3 years ago that had occurred specifically in very right-wing circles where we're like, hey, we're being poisoned. It's something that everybody knew, but the only people that were really talking about it are podcasters and influencers on the right. Now it's a conversation that's being held in the federal government, which I think is amazing. So when you see someone like Bernie Sanders that is as corrupt and annoying as he is, have the audacity to go after RFK in this way, it's frustrating. And at the end of the day, what I feel like a lot of politicians like Bernie Sanders have to come to terms with and are struggling to come to terms with is that the American people chose RFK. Okay, when RFK dropped out of the race and joined in with Donald Trump, there's a lot of people that said, yes, we want this guy in this administration attacking the chronic disease epidemic in this country and addressing the childhood obesity problem. We vote for this. Yes, we want this. So again, for Bernie Sanders, being as corrupt as he is, having the audacity to go after RFK in such a way is just mind-blowing from top down. So that's that. Now, I have one last story from today. that I want to talk about. And this one is slightly a little less serious than the ones that I just talked about. I want to say it's for comedic relief, but honestly speaking, there really is nothing funny about this story.
Tonight on The Edge, a Detroit rapper is going viral for something other than her music.
Fans know her as Dank DeMoss, and they're fuming after a Lyft driver allegedly denied her a ride because of her size. And Fox News' Jessica Dubnak is live in Detroit with this story. And my goodness, tell us how this all unfolded here, Jessica.
Well, it all unfolded on video. Deja Banlane whipped out her phone when this all happened. Now, the Lyft driver, he was kind enough and apologetic, but refused her a ride and said that she would not fit and that her weight couldn't be handled by his tires. Now she's filing a lawsuit.
Have you been in cars that size before?
Yes, I have. I've been in cars smarter than that, you know.
Deja Blanding tells us she was just trying to get to a Detroit Lions watch party this month when her Lyft rolled up.
As I'm walking, I see him like making faces or whatever. I'm like, oh man.
She already knew.
I can fit in this car.
No, believe me, you can.
Yes, I can.
Believe me.
He told her there's not enough room in his car.
The kicker part was when he started to talk about his tires. You know, I feel like that was a slap in the face. That was like my tires, you know, like.
The driver said his tires could not handle her weight.
Every big person you turn down because they can't fit in your car?
Yeah, because they need to order the Uber XL.
No, I don't never have to order Uber XL.
He apologized, canceled the ride, and left her there. The rapper says she's pretty tough.
I get the money and flip it and make some food.
Dank DeMoss, as she's known at the mic, is crushed by the whole situation.
Okay, so she's suing Lyft. And because we live in a clown world, she's probably going to get millions of dollars from Lyft. And the reason why I decided to kind of talk about this story is because, one, I mean, there's so much there. There's so much there, but I think I'm still lost for words. I'm surprised that because, like, what the hell? Like, it's absurd on so many levels that you don't even know where to begin. And so, first of all, how did you get that big? Again, this is why we need RFK to be confirmed. Because, number two, you know you were too big for that car. And I have this, like, unrealistic fear of being in a situation like that, like going to an amusement park and being told that I'm like too big for a ride, or, you know, just in a situation where just like, ma'am, I'm so sorry to tell you this, but you are just too big to participate in this. The thought of that makes me just want to like go work out. And it's just like, I don't understand how someone could want to allow themselves to get that big and then be so bold about it. And I think that speaks to the society that we're living in right now, that even though we've made great progress in terms of, you know, kind of pulling back on the body positivity situation, we still have a very long way to go. That is all for today's video. Thank you for taking the time out to check out my channel. I hope you enjoy this. Again, I hope it was worth your while. If it was, hit that like button, throw something in the comment section down below. Hit that subscribe button. And if you have not, hit that notification bell so that when I upload again, you will be notified.